Yeah, that's exactly.
So we go
And,
from
and,
three
and,
coffees,
and in America,
and now you're like
typically,
in my shit.
oh yeah.
I mean, I know that, but that's not what I'm going for.
Like
Right?
we live in a culture right now where if I've gone out with you for a couple, like 2-3 times, and it's been like a month, like our culture that we live in right now, like if it's been a month and we ain't had sex, there's a problem. What's up? Hey, we're getting ready to do this. Let's go.
What's going on, man? It's been a long time, bro. We're back again. This is the I Don't Know podcast. I'm so excited for today, and I'm so excited for everything, bro. We haven't dropped an episode in a little bit, so I'm so excited, man. Welcome back. This is the I Don't Know podcast. Man, I'm doing it again. Every time I'm in front of the camera, like I don't mind being on some cameras, like being behind the camera. I don't mind that, but being in front of the camera, whew, that's the toughest one. But you know, we gotta do what everything you gotta do to obey. So here, man, 5 episodes, 6 episodes in, and more coming, bro. And yeah, but yeah, I'm so excited for the guest of today. Man, uh. He's been a blessing, bro. Since knowing him, he's been a really blessing, bro. You've been a really blessing, but yeah, bro. A USMC veteran. You gonna explain me what that is? MA
Yeah.
counseling psychologist, counselor at the Forge, regional director of the Forge, Tulsa, CEO of the Total Athlete Mental Health. Helps people become a better version of themselves, changing lives of the youth, young adults, students, men, athletes, couples, churches, among every other thing. But most importantly, he's a husband, he's a father, and he's a follower of Yehoshua.
Yes, sir.
How's my introduction? How you feel?
Good.
Welcome, bro.
It's good. I appreciate you having me,
Yes,
brother.
sir, for
Yeah,
sure.
man, I know you've been hollering at me for a minute.
Yeah,
And,
long
but-
overdue.
But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, man. And I appreciate the
course, man.
platform, whatever we can do to bring God glory, man.
Amen, bro. Yeah, bro. So, man, y'all just heard he has a lot of titles, man. He's a man of many talents and many calling. No, one calling, but many, like, many layers of the calling.
Many layers, indeed.
Yeah. But more than that, you've been a friend to me, bro. You've been a mentor. You've been a friend. You've been a covering. You've been a man. That's like all that list that I just said is really good. I thank God for that. But I feel like that's like everybody else. But for me, you're not a MMA fighter, martial arts or psychologist or whatever. For me, you're just a friend, bro. You're just a mentor. You're just a helper for real, like somebody who's there, man. Literally, like we were having a conversation, like I don't know how we have conversations every day, but I told him, like, bro, you being a pillar, bro, in my like life, bro, since knowing you, like you've held me. Like I know God is the ultimate thing that held me, but he's used you to make sure that I'm intact. I stay submitted. I stay under his authority. I stay all of those good stuff. So yeah, bro, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no, man, it's been a pleasure for me. Like, in my role as a counselor and a therapist, I meet a lot of different people, a lot of different guys, and for some reason, there's always those ones where like the Lord is like, this person here, like they might be your client, but I want you to do a little extra with them or for them. And then there's other people that, okay, this person is just your client and they're supposed to be your client. And then there's other people like you. Like initially, I know that we were talking about, hey, let's start like a client counselor relationship. And I think the Lord is like, nope, some people are just meant to be your friend. Some people you're just meant to pour into. It's not going to be like, they're not your client. They're just going to be your friend.
Yeah.
And so it's been good for me to have that relationship because I didn't know a whole lot of people moving over here to Tulsa. And so the interesting thing about our relationship is that you feel as though you feel grateful because I poured into you so much. But what you don't know is that when we have people that we're pouring into, we automatically make ourselves accountable. So you feel like, oh man, I needed you so much. You poured in so much to me. But you don't know that I've needed you just as much because it holds me accountable to my actions and to how I'm following Christ.
Man.
Because I know that I have people under me that are depending me to walk that line because I'm also pouring into you. So every man that I pour into is not just a man that I'm pouring into, but he's also a level of accountability for me to live right. So, you know, it may seem from your perspective that I've filled this great need for you, but you've also filled a great need for me in that you've made me accountable. And for me, I'm at the point in my life right now where I accept all accountability and I see it all as a blessing.
Man, I've never thought of that. I've never thought of it in that way, bro.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful. Like, I was like, how can I repay this guy? Like, literally, I'm like, whatever he tells me, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna help him in whatever way I can, bro. Cause you know, yeah, we're gonna get into it. But maybe if somebody's out there and they're asking themselves like, should I have a mentor? Should I have like somebody to pour into me? Should I have somebody who holds me accountable, bro? There's literally in the Bible, there's no David without a Samuel.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this on the way when I got off work. So when God came to talk to Samuel, the Bible says like the word of God was rare. So God talked to Samuel, but he couldn't notice it. Even though the word of God was rare, God wasn't talking to Eli, right? Mm-hmm. But he took Eli for Samuel to know that God is calling him.
Yeah.
So though the word of God is rare, and you're so special because nobody's hearing God, you're the only person hearing him. But you still need accountability. Somebody who's not hearing from God.
That's right.
You still need this older dude. You still need this person who's gonna like tell you, hey, don't do this. I know you are gifted, but don't do this. I know you are a singer. I know you're an athlete, but hey, man, go slow on these women, bro. Like you'll crash out and burn, man.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, bro. So if anybody is out here, bro, you're not good by yourself. You know what's crazy? You're not even good by just your boys. Cause I am not good but just my boys. My boys are good. I love my friends, but I need somebody who's out of my boys. Cause my boys, we all see in the same view. Like we all see like the white, like the windshield view, but we need somebody who sees those blind spots. We need somebody who sees up. We need somebody who sees under. We need somebody who sees like every, you know.
And you need somebody outside of your circle.
Yeah,
you need that too. You know, I always tell people if you're looking for a mentor, it can't be anybody who's on your payroll, right? And it can't be anybody who's in your inner circle, because I believe that sometimes when people will be afraid to tell you the honest truth because they don't want to ruin the relationship, or they might be worried about what they can get from you.
Yeah.
So obviously, if I'm paying you and you're on my payroll, you ain't gonna be
of course.
You're gonna be like 95%, but you may not be 100% with me because you're afraid you might lose that job, or you might offend me and I might fire you.
Yeah.
Or if you're like a friend in my inner circle, you may be afraid to tell me some things because you don't want to ruin the friendship. So I always believe it is healthy to have a mentor who is older than you, more experienced than you, that can hold you accountable outside of your friend zone and outside of your business zone. It's got to be a person who has nothing to gain from you and nothing to lose from you.
Sheesh. That's good. I think that's what's maybe wrong with these musicians and stuff. Because I think somebody was saying, like what this musician, if I say the name, you guys will know him, but I don't want to call out. I don't want to see myself on a crazy page on Instagram saying he called out this person, so I'm not gonna say the name. But they were like, actually, it's not just him. All these powerful people who don't take accountability outside of their circle. The people who are in their circle, they're just yes men.
Yeah.
So this person was saying like, bro, he comes out in the studio and he says some crazy stuff. And because everybody is getting, you know, they're boys, they're getting something from him. He put them on, like they will lose a lot if
they told him the real truth.
So they were just like, let's do it, bro. That's crazy, bro. And now this guy is doing all this crazy stuff on the internet. We out here, we're like, bro, what's going on? Nobody sees this? Yeah. I'm sure the person in his circle sees this, but why is nobody saying anything?
Because everybody's benefiting.
Yeah.
So they're afraid to tell the truth.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
so
that's wild.
We're going to get into that. But So I would like to set the intention of this talk. I think that's something I just started with all the episodes going forward. I'm gonna say like an intention for the talk. So the intention of this talk is for the young men out there, or any man, or any person out there, that they will scroll to the next video, because I know the chances are you're not gonna hear this from a radio, or chances are you're not gonna read this in the newspaper. You're gonna see it on Instagram or YouTube. So my prayer and my intention for this talk is that you might scroll to the next video, whatever seconds you're gonna watch, 3, 8, 10, going to the next video, be with at least a small clarity to what manhood is. I'm talking for on the side of man, and for maybe on women, like understanding on who they're dealing with. Because I realize everybody's is in a relationship. You might not have a man, you might not be married, but you are in a relationship. Your dad is a man, your brothers are a man, you work with men, you know. So like clarity of how who these people you are dealing with think, how the reason behind their reactions. Because sometimes if you don't know the purpose or the idea or the thought behind an action, you're gonna think it's just that. But once you understand that, you're like, oh, so men don't like to talk because, not just because they're boring or whatever, they're just vulnerable, or they just hate to be vulnerable, or they hate to feel incompetent, you know, because that's all of that stuff. So that's the intention for this talk, you know. And yeah, man, and the things we're about to talk about is something everybody want to hear in 2025. I promise you. Being a man, a woman, like whatever you are, you want to hear this. So stick around, yeah. So let me ask you this, man. I'm actually reversing this question, because you asked me this question, and I didn't have no answer. I was like, dang. So what is a man?
Yeah.
And real quick, so when we say what is a man, people go straight to, like, you know, somebody with a male figure who does all this kind of stuff. But this day in 2025, anybody can have those stuff. Whatever you think a male is or a man is, anybody can have those stuff.
Yeah.
So what is a man?
So let's set some context though before I
Okay.
answer that question,
Yeah.
because one of the things that I used to do, as I run small groups with men, I lead support groups with men, and I do a lot of one-on-one counseling with men.
Yeah.
So I used to go into these groups, and there would be a group of, either high school or college age males, and I would walk in and I would talk to the guys, and then at some point I would say, okay, who in this room thinks they're a man? And I would always get 3 different reactions. The first reaction I would get from kind of like the tough guys in the room, right? The tough guys are like, they have this persona of I'm hardcore, I'm a thug, I'm whatever it is, whatever word you want to put in there, but I'm hard, so that makes me a man. And immediately when I would say, who in here thinks they're a man, they would just shoot their hand up, like 100%, no question. That's the first reaction.
Okay.
The second reaction from the group would be the thinkers. They want to raise their hand.
That's probably me.
but they want to make sure that they're not wrong.
Right.
So you could see the wheels turning in their mind, and they're like, I think, like, so it's kind of slowly going up, but they're not sure.
Yeah.
And then the third response is the ones that they kind of figured this might be a trick question, so I don't want to look like a fool. And maybe I don't even know if I am or not. So I'm just going to keep my hand down. So these would be the 3 different responses that I would see in the room. And then after I would get all 3 responses, I would follow up with another question. And I would say, how do you know? So, right, who in this room thinks they're a man? All these different hands shoot up. Some of them go halfway. Some of them don't go up at all. And then I would say, how do you know? And after about 5 seconds of some processing in the brain, I could see, the wheels turning in the brain. I could see the eyes, like the eyes are confused. And then the guys that automatically shot their hand up, you could see this slowly. The hands start coming down.
That hurts.
right? The guys that were confused, they immediately, their hand comes down.
That hurts.
And then the guys that didn't raise their hand at all, you could just see them asking like, how do I know? And so this is the question that I could walk into any room full of men. These are the three responses I know I'm going to get. And generally when I say, how do you know that you're a man? The hands go down, because a lot of people can say why they're a male, right? You can tell me that you're a male. That's usually easier to explain than tell me that you're a man, right? But like you said, even these days, you could have been born a woman, and then later on you got male parts, so now you're a male,
right?
Right? And generally the answers that I would get from guys is, well, I know I'm a man. Like some guys would just keep their hand up, and I'm like, okay, how do you know you're a man? And they would say, well, I make money, I pay the bills, I provide for my family, I'm good in sports, like all these things that they think they're a man. And I'm like, okay, I know women that are doing all that.
Yeah.
I know women that are paying the bills.
Facts.
I know women that are good in sport. I know women that are tough. I know women that could probably kick your butt.
Yeah.
Right? Like, women do this.
So
that doesn't make them a man.
True.
Like, I know some powerful, independent women that are doing all that. Taking care of themselves, putting food on the table, raising kids all by themselves.
Healthy, like...
Yeah, all that. Yeah. Smart, intelligent. That's not a man. So then we dive into this question, like, really, what is a man? And we could dive into this a lot longer, but I'll keep the answer short.
Okay.
A man is one who models and behaves and reflects Jesus, Yeshua. I believe that he left us the ultimate blueprint of what it meant to be a man. If you really study the life of Jesus, and I would say this to anyone, whether you're a follower of Jesus, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're whatever you are, whatever, it doesn't matter your religion. It doesn't even matter if you're an atheist. If you go into the Bible and you study the life of Jesus, you will see that he was literally, even if you believe the story was a fable,
right?
But you will see that ultimately he's the hero of the story. And what you'll find is that you will find a nurturing warrior in that story, which I believe are the two elements that you need to be a man. Like, there needs to be a side of you that's a nurturer. There needs to be a side of you that's a warrior. And there needs to be all of you that is surrendered to God. And he did all those three things.
Right.
He was a nurturer. He showed compassion, mercy, forgiveness. He was a warrior. He died for what he believed in, right? And he was submitted. His entire life was submitted to God, right? So these are the three elements and the blueprint that he left for us to follow in his footsteps of what it means to be a man. But unfortunately, culture and society have changed all that. And of course, the messages that we get as young men growing up in this world about what a man is supposed to be, right? Like, I grew up hearing all kinds of different messages about what a man was supposed to be, who could get the most girls, right? Who could have the most sex, who had the most money in their pocket, who drove the best car, who had, like, these are the things that a lot of young people are like, oh, that must be a man. Because you see a guy pull up in a nice car, he's got nice clothes, he's got, the jewelry, he's got all the girls around him. He seems to have the world at his fingertips. But after doing the work that I'm doing now in the counseling and therapy world, and working with hundreds of guys for the last 8 or 9 years, I generally see that the guys that fit that description that I just said are usually the ones that are the most broken inside and have no idea what it means to be a man themselves. And they will admit it. So because they have no idea what it means, they try to portray this figure of what they think a man is supposed to look like. But deep down inside, they're just a boy in a man's body.
Man. Crazy, bro. I like that, and I believe in that, right? So let me ask you this. So the first time I met you, right, you told me this thing. And then to give you a backstory, I grew up in church, all of these things. So I've had people tell me, you know, like cute, like sentences or lines.
Christianese.
Yeah, you know, and I'm used to that. So I'm like, okay. So you told me when you heal the man, the boy is gonna come out. When you heal the boy, the man is gonna come out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I had never heard of that before, right? I was like, is this guy trying to impress me? And like what? But then I thought of it, I was like, dang. I have never thought of young me. Or is there something young me needed they never had? So they're still trying to look for it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
In everything that I do, in relationships, in the jobs that I do, in the validation that I seek, the people that I spend my time around. Like, is there something maybe young me wanted or something he didn't want and it was always there? To this day, he's still trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, that's crazy.
I believe it, and it's true. Because if you look at, again, I'm basing this off the hundreds of clients that I've had, right? And I see a consistent pattern in my clients. My clients who are highly promiscuous, right? Meaning they've had sex with a bunch of different women.
Yeah.
They've had a bunch of different sexual escapades and adventures, and they keep 2, 3, 4 girlfriends. They're not committed to one relationship. They never will think about getting married, but they seek constant validation. Typically, this type of man is one who has experienced deep emotional trauma, right? So you can tie it back to somewhere in his timeline where he was damaged, and typically it was as a young boy, where he was damaged, and now he constantly seeks validation because he's not healed from that first trauma.
Yeah.
When you see men who are prone to anger or violence, right? As I've heard before, when you see someone who's mad, I would say mad is sad's bodyguard. So when you see someone who's mad, they're really sad.
Ooh.
There's really a lot of brokenness in there. But the way that the wall that they use to defend themselves is anger. So for a lot of people, it's hard to get through that anger.
Yeah.
So then they know that works. So they keep putting up this wall of anger so no one will try to approach them to go in there and actually do the heart work that person actually needs. And so you'll see these different behaviors in men, like very sexually active, very promiscuous, or very violent, very angry, or abusing different substances and things like that. Generally, when you see these types of common behaviors that you see in men, you can trace it back to some type of attachment issue as a child, some type of trauma as a child, some type of abandonment as a child, some type of deep wound as a child that is still unhealed. And so here you are now, 10, 15, 20 years later in a grown man's body, but you still got that little boy in there that hasn't been healed. And so that's why I told you, if you heal the boy, the man will appear.
Yeah. So when does the transition from the boy to man happen? Or when does the transition from young man to man happen? Because remember, like in all cultures, like every culture back then, you go like, I don't know how many years back, but you're going to find there was something that in a ritual that they would do to the men in the society to let them know that, hey, to let them know and the society know that like this individual right here, they've transitioned from young men, they're now a man. Right. Like I understand that because my culture is there, and I'm sure you relate to that.
Yeah.
Any culture, if you look back in the years, there was something they would do. 100%. So, but now we don't have it. So
we don't.
Does that mean the transition happens, or the transition doesn't happen at all?
I don't think it's hard because like you said it, like if you look back on every culture, right? This is anthropology now that we're talking about, right? So if you look back, whether it's the Native Americans, whether it's in Africa, in Asia, in all the different cultures, the Middle East, there's always a ritual that lets a young man, a young boy, and his peers and his community know that he's a man. In the United States,
in the West,
you turn 18 and now somebody tells you you're a man.
16, bro, right, 15.
Right? You're 18. Well, in the United States, You're legally an adult
Yeah.
when you're 18. So a lot of people turn 18 in the United States and they're like, oh, I must be a man, right? I heard Pastor Mike say this one time. Pastor Mike Todd. He said, you're born a male, but you don't become a man until you come back to God. Think about that. Like, you're born a male.
That's crazy.
But you actually don't become a man until you come back to God, right? And so I think that there's something to be said for perfect unity with the Father that completes my manhood.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my manhood really didn't start until there was perfect unity between me and the Father, the Creator. Like, that's where I would say, like, if somebody asked me, when did your manhood start? My malehood started when I was born.
Yeah.
But my manhood didn't start until I was born again.
Ooh. Wow.
You need me to repeat that?
Yeah, repeat it for me. And I'm sure somebody is behind that screen is lagging or something.
My malehood started when I was born, but my manhood didn't start until I was born again.
That's true, bro. That's crazy. That's so real.
That's a real thing. And I believe that that's why we have, in our society today, why so many young men are lost, because the perfect unity between them and the Father has been broken. It's not there, right? And so, like, this work that I'm doing around mental health, around counseling, around working with men and athletes, it all points back to getting people back into perfect unity with the Father. Wow. It all points back to that because there's so much healing that happens that can begin to happen when you come back into alignment with the Father.
To the Father, the perfect and the most ultimate, like, man in the universe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, man. Whew. That's deep, bro. Man, I have all thoughts in my head right now.
You call it a day after that.
Yeah, for real, man.
That's so much to chew on right there. Even for me, like, I have to chew on that often because it seems like because of we live in a broken world, so we constantly have to realign ourselves back with that thought. Because don't get it twisted. Even Jesus followers can fall to the norms of society, which says you make a lot of money, you're a man. You drive a nice car, you're a man, right? You got nice things, you're a man, right? And even us believers can fall into the trap to believe that every blessing has to be a financial one. And so then we chase the wrong thing sometimes. And so it's a daily process. Jesus said, if you want to follow me, you got to take up your cross daily. So it's a daily dying to self and dying to the thought that there's something out there outside of God's will that's going to make me a man. Nothing outside of God's will is going to make you a man. Nothing. But we have to constantly remind ourselves of that because our culture and our society tells us that there is something out there that's going to make you more of a man. And that's the narrative that we're fighting against when we're working with young people about the manhood's not out there.
Yeah.
You can get the car, you can get the money, you can get the bank account, the business, the woman of your dreams, and all of that will not make you a man. And I have to constantly remind myself that my manhood is not out there. My manhood lies in the intimacy with the Father, in my connection to the Father is the key to my manhood. It's not going to be found outside of that. It's just like the Garden of Eden, right? Satan was able to convince Adam and Eve that there was something good for them outside of the will of God. Like God was holding something back from them, right? He was able to convince them of that, right? And so they decided to follow that road. And I think for us, it's very easy for the enemy to convince us that there's something good for us outside of God's will, outside of the garden.
That's crazy.
Right? And so we have to constantly find ourselves pulling ourselves back because it's so easy to fall off.
Yeah. So, while we're still there on the blessing and stuff, what do you think about hustle culture? Because I feel like that's the thing the devil is trying to entertain us with. that we feel like we have everything here in Christ, and then there's like it's a carrot, and the what's the story? The jackass and the carrot. He's like, we have everything here, but then we have everything in God. But then there's like, no, look at the shiny wheels. Look at the women and stuff, and we're like, dang, we go after it, and we don't even know if it's good or not, but because social media and stuff, they tell us, man, it's crazy, it's good. Like we all know somehow. We haven't tasted the millions, at least for me. I haven't tasted the millions and the billions, but we somehow know that, those people over there, they're good. But we don't know what they're going through. We don't know their relationships.
Right.
We don't know what happens at night and stuff. So we try to hustle ourselves to those things, or we try to just hustle and trying to do everything to get this thing, and it pulls us away from this. So what are your thoughts on hustle culture?
The hustle culture is dangerous because you said I haven't tasted the millions and the billions. Mm-hmm. And immediately when you said that, here's the thought that came to my mind is I haven't tasted the millions and the billions either. Mm-hmm. But I have tasted something that the millions and the billions can't get you, which is peace. Which is peace. Millions and billions cannot buy you peace. Like real peace, right? Because you can have millions and billions and go to the doctor one day and they tell you you have cancer. And if you don't have a relationship with the Father,
you're cooked.
Yeah. You can go to the doctor one day and they tell you you have this disease, you have that disease, and no amount of money is going to heal you. Or your wife, or your son, or your daughter. And there's no amount of millions or billions that's going to bring them back. If you don't have peace, if you don't have a relationship with God, that will destroy you. And I don't care how much money you got. And so the hustle culture is dangerous because the hustle culture will put a battery in your back and wind you up and have you going. And you're trying to go get all these other things before getting the first thing that you need, which is real inner peace, right? If you don't get that, then it doesn't matter how much other things you have, because at the end of the day, like I said, the millions and billions can't heal you. They can't bring you peace. They can't bring you true joy. And let me also say this. Yeah. I do believe that prayer is not a substitute for hard work. Right. I firmly believe that. There's some people that will pray and then they'll just sit around at home all day. Yeah. All right. So like prayer is not a substitute for hard work. I think you need to pray hard and I think you need to work hard. For real. But I also think that there's a third element, which is that self-care, what does self-care look like? It looks like withdrawing from your work to go spend time with the Father, to go pour into your family, to go do all these things that you need to maintain a healthy balance. And I think that the grind and the hustle culture will have people thinking that you're going to go grind and you're going to destroy all your relationships and you're going to make these millions of dollars. And then somehow once you're rich, you're going to come back and it's going to fix everything. But I've met way too many people that have actually hustled and grinded and got what they wanted. And when they look back, there was nobody to share it with because they destroyed all their relationships.
I feel like hustle culture promises something they're not going to fulfill. They tell you, keep going. Like once you hit that milestone, you're going to be good. No. And it's crazy. All the rich people, they tell you, once I hit the trillions, I'm like, I want to taste the quadrillions.
Yeah. It's never enough.
Or it promises you that you're going to be good. And you walk your way up there and you turn back. You're like, I lost everything I had just to get this. I'm not good. I'm actually worse. Because now this is the only thing I have. Before I had this, I had my family, I had my peace, I had my church, but now I had to let go of all of this just to get this thing. Yeah. So now I heard somebody say, some people are so poor, all they have is money. Yeah. Like you get there, you like.
And you have no love, no one to share it with. Man. So it's dangerous, man. And I see people doing it. I think we're starting to kind of catch on that's a false reality. Yeah. And And again, it's dangerous. And I think that, if anybody's watching this podcast right now and they believe like, I need to grind, and I can't stop until I reach there, I would say, go take an inventory of your relationships.
For real.
Go take an inventory of your inner peace. Go take an inventory of your mental health. And when all those three things are good, then you can keep grinding.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we sacrifice all those things that I just mentioned for the grind.
Yeah.
And then you finally get to where you think is going to make you happy, and you're just emptier.
And it's crazy because, man, if you don't take the accountability, the mentorship, or at least pay attention to the voice of the Holy Spirit, you're not going to know until you already crashed out. Yeah. That's the problem. It hurts to find out about a dangerous thing once you're already in it. At least if I was like halfway in it, it's not gonna be as bad. Or at least it's not gonna take as much time to recover. Yeah. And if you don't take this accountability, this mentorship, the therapy, the Holy Spirit community,
you gotta do the work.
Yeah.
You gotta do the work.
In my country we have like a slogan. We have a lot of slogans, but one of the slogans is work as you pray and pray as you work. Yeah. Yeah. I also, thinking about my country, I just thought of this. I'm an immigrant, right? I wasn't born here. And hustle culture is not just getting the money. It's anything. It's the idea of trying to get more or not being content. Because me coming here, before I was here, I was like, man, boy, when we get to America, it's about to go down. Like, we gonna have this money, we gonna be good. Now I'm here, I'm like, we're not. So now I'm trying, my mind straight goes to, okay, what should we go to next so that we can be good? But that thing is not there. It's never, you're never gonna feel like this unless you find yourself in God and be content. Because even being in God, if you don't tell your flesh to be content, you're not gonna feel content. Literally, Adam and Eve had everything, but they still found a way.
They fell for it still. That's why I told you, like, that's why it's like a daily realignment. Because you can have, look at Judas. Yeah. That man spent
Jesus in the flesh.
Yeah, he spent 3 years riding with Jesus in the flesh, and he still sold out for the money. Man. Right? So like, there's nobody is above this temptation to go grind, to go seek things outside of God's boundaries, outside of the garden, so to speak. And so that's why we constantly got to draw ourselves back to like what really matters, right? What's really important. So,
oh man. Now, okay, let's switch the topic. So, how in the world are we supposed to find a wife in 2025 with everything going on with the dating apps, dating shows, with changing of bodily like parts that shows, I mean, how in the world are we supposed to find a wife, right? And why should we even go in a relationship in the first of all, in the first place?
So this is really cool, man, because I used to, as part of my groups, I used to teach this group on like relationship skills. Yeah. And so I would give my students basically a form that had all these amazing attributes, right? It probably had like 30 attributes, like, good looking, smart, kind, compassionate, respectful, all these things, right? And they would have to go through these 30 different attributes. And I would tell them, out of these 30 things, you have to pick 10 things that in order for this person to be your wife, she would have to have these 10 things, right? And so the guys would read all the 30 and they would pick the 10. And then I would read the 10. And after we were, the whole point of that lesson was after we were done with the lesson or after we were done picking the 10 items, I would look at that young man and I would say, okay, out of these 10 items that you picked, that your wife, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, they have to have these 10 attributes. How many of those attributes do you have yourself? On the average, maybe one or two. Maybe one or two. So I would look at these young dudes and I'd be like, okay, so let me get this straight. Yeah. You want this woman that got, good looking, fit, makes money, smart, respectful, knows how to cook, whatever it is, right? Like all the things that you picked. right? But you ain't got none of the. You ain't got but one or two of those. But you want this person that has all this. But how hard are you working to become that for someone else?
But in their defense, we're supposed to complete each other. So maybe I bring 2, but they bring 8. But that's not real. That's not real.
And so this is a common thing, right? Where they say a relationship is 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I believe a relationship is 100-100.
Sometimes maybe 1 in 10.
You each bring 100.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I get with a person that is not fully complete, then what I've just gotten is a person that's more hurt, typically more hurt than healed, and they bring nothing except neediness.
And it's contagious, huh?
Yeah. So now you've got, if it's 50-50, I think that there's going to be lack, right? So my whole point, going back to your question, is how do we find the right woman? How do we find the right person? The first step to that, I don't have all the answers to that.
Yeah.
But I do have the first answer is, in order for you to find the perfect person for yourself, is you becoming that perfect person first. So whatever's in your mind about what is the ideal partner, you need to work on getting all those attributes yourself.
Man.
And I believe that when you take on all the attributes of the partner that you desire, then that's the kind of energy that you're just going to put out there in the world. And you're going to end up drawing that person to you, right? You're going to end up drawing that person to you. The second thing I would say is you have to, sometimes we got to pray things in. So
what that mean?
So in other words, you got to invite God into the equation. I think so many times.
That's every time.
So, but listen, that sounds nice, but most people don't do that.
Yeah.
Most times we see somebody that look good, and you're like, dang, they look good. They're friendly. We've been having conversation. And you're gonna ask a few of your friends about it, but the last person that you typically talk to is God.
Dang.
That's usually the last one you ask. Like, hey, God, what do you think about this person? Should I start dating them? Yeah. But you've already asked like 2 or 3 of your homies. Like, hey, you think this is the right person? But you ain't even talked to God about it.
Guess what they're gonna say? Your homies.
Oh, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, bro, go for it. Right? And then when God tells you, hey, that's probably not the one, or you gotta slow down, then you want to argue with God. So I would say, man, if you're a young person, a young man who is serious. Listen to what I'm saying here.
Serious?
If you're a young man who's serious about finding a partner, right? Here's what I would say. Find somebody who loves God more than they love you. And find those attributes that you want in the perfect partner, and then work on having all those attributes yourself.
Man. That's dope.
Right? Write a list. This is what my perfect partner is going to have. She's going to be this. She's going to be that. She's going to be whatever it is you want her to be. And then hold the list up to yourself and say, how much of this do I have in me?
I don't know how I feel about the list, right? Because I used to be the list guy, the guy with the list. But I'm starting to think that, man, let's say I have a list of 10 things.
Okay.
But she might come having 3 that are really, really, like, let's say God-loving. They really want to build a family.
Right. But you're moving ahead, though. Because you said, what if I have the list of 10 and she's got only 3? The first question you got to ask is, I have my list, but do you check off on the list? Do you have all 10 things?
Let's say I'm working on them and I'm really, doing reasonable work. Let's say I'm doing good. I'm doing my part, right? I'm working it out with God, and we're on the way, right? I'm trying to defend the point that the list can be sometimes, confusing or tricky. And let's say she has God-loving, she really want to build a family. It's somebody that the possibilities of a divorce or struggling to stay together or any of that is really low, right? And she has a sense of purpose. She knows what the Lord wants to do with her and the relationship. But then she, like 3 others on the list.
Okay.
I might. Chances are I'm gonna go with her.
Why? Why would you settle?
Because I feel like those three are so important, and we don't have them in the world, bro. Oh, like
you don't believe well, okay. So here, let me say this. Yeah, don't. The list is a nice guide, but it's not like we're not going to be legalistic about it.
Right.
But here's what I'm saying. The list is not really for her. The list is for you. The list is not so you could look at the list and be like, okay, does she have this? Check. Does she have this? Check. No. The list is for you to say, do I have this? Check. Do I have this? Check. If you only got 3 on the list, then you're going to meet 3 women. Level 3 women.
That's good.
If you got level 5 on the list, the chances are you're going to meet level 5 women.
Wow.
If you got 10 on the list, then you probably going to meet a perfect 10.
That's some game right there, fellas.
You see what I'm saying? How you going to be having only 1 on the list, but you want a woman that got 10? So you're going to put out level 1 energy. That's what you're going to get back. I always tell people the energy that you put out is what you're going to get back. Yeah. So if you really worked on yourself and you're like, man, I got all 10, and that's the energy that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
The chances is that you're going to meet somebody who's really close to that. It's really close to that, right?
Wow.
It's just like your relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
If your relationship with Christ is on a level 10,
yeah,
and you end up meeting a beautiful woman who's on a level 1 with Christ, if you're really at a level 10 with Christ, you're going to know right away this woman is not spiritually mature.
She's on negative 2.
Yeah. You're going to know right away. Why?
Yeah.
Because you know what a counterfeit looks like because you're so close to the real one. You so close to the real one, you know what a counterfeit looks like.
Come on.
But you can't know what a counterfeit is if you ain't got the real one.
Yeah, if you're a counterfeit yourself.
If you're a counterfeit yourself. So the more of a level 10 you are, the better chances that you will have of finding a level 10. Because when you're a level 10 and you meet a level 1, you're going to know right away that she's a counterfeit.
That's good.
You see what I'm saying? The list is not really about her. The list is about you. You need to be these things. And that which you become, you will attract. So that's the proof is in the pudding. Like you will meet someone. If you're at like a spiritually mature level and you meet someone who's not, it don't matter how good they look.
Right.
As soon as y'all have a couple conversations, you're going to know this person is not, she's not on my level spiritually.
Yeah. So right there. So that means you advise people to go on dates. Because you say, when y'all get together. Because I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, only like a few months ago, I ever heard in church people say, go on dates. It's not bad. Just make sure that you're not gonna, don't make it crazy. Like, don't make sure, as long as you don't like go have sex after or crash out and after one day you're like, dang, she's the one. Or as long as it's a date, it's good. So that means you advise dates, right?
No.
No?
No.
You don't advise dates?
I don't advise
dates. You just said so let me get this straight.
So when you meet somebody,
mm-hmm.
Are you going to date them before you become their friend? Or are you just going to ask them out on a date?
So what a date is just going out for coffee, for lunch, for an activity. I'm not saying dating, being in a relationship. I'm just saying
because we really got to clarify. Because in America, dating means we're not married and we're going to go out a few times and then we're going to have sex. That's what dating means in America. So let's get that.
Okay, I'm not saying dating. I'm just saying going on a date.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So we go for three coffees.
And in America,
and now in my sheets.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that, but that's not what I'm going for.
Like we live in a culture right now where if I've gone out with you for a couple, like 2-3 times, and it's been like a month, like our culture that we live in right now, like if it's been a month and we ain't had sex, there's a problem. So you got to
wait for marriage, baby girl.
So you got to be really careful when you say dating, because dating has so many negative connotations. Here's what I don't advise in dating. What I advise in is building a friendship, a genuine friendship, right?
All right. So when you go out, like as friends, you're gonna have like one-on-one time, right? As long as it's not in the room, it's just on the coffee.
There's no expectation.
No,
of a romantic.
Just getting to know them.
Okay, well then that's just being friends. That's not dating. That's not
No,
dating.
that's not dating. I didn't say dating. I said going on okay, let's say going for a coffee or going for a food truck somewhere just to know about them.
Here's what I say.
Yeah.
I would say keep the whole word date out of the
Out of it.
vocabulary. And okay, for example, if me and you went to go get some tacos after this,
Yeah.
would you be like, hey, yeah, we just went on a date?
No.
Absolutely
No,
not, right?
But if I see a girl, let's say at church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm interested in them and we go out to have coffee. Depending on how we all feel, that might be a date. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, I get what you mean.
So you got to treat it like I want to get to know you on a level of a friend.
Gotcha.
Man, here's a serious thing, man. Not enough people. I know a lot of married people.
Yeah.
Because we do couples counseling as well. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of married people.
Yeah.
Including me and my wife. Like me, I'll put it out there. Me and my wife, we got together quick.
Yeah.
And we never took time to actually be friends before I was like, I'm interested in you. Let me get your number. Let's start dating. Like it was dating right away. Like we never took the time to actually build a friendship.
Right. And we're going to need that, right?
And now, you're going to need that. And now it's like, now we're going on 17 years. And now we're taking the time to be intentional about, I want to hear your dreams. Like there was things I didn't even know about my wife, like 10 years into the marriage. And I was just like, dang, I never knew that. Why? Because we never took time to be friends. And I think one of the things that people are disregarding, young people, is the power of a friendship, of a real, genuine friendship. That's right. And so my advice is if there's a young man, you see a young lady at church or wherever it is, and you're attracted to her, right? You're interested in her. Like you say, man, she's beautiful. My advice to you would be put the whole romance and that part of it, put it on the back, put it on the shelf. I'm not saying put it away because that would not be realistic, right? You're still going to be attracted to her. You're still going to think she's beautiful, but put that part of it on the shelf and focus on becoming her friend, like a real friend.
Yeah.
And treat her for what she really is, which is your sister in Christ. Because before she's your girlfriend, before she's your wife, she's your sister because y'all got the same father.
For real.
She's your sister in Christ. And I think that's where a lot of Christian relationships get off track because even as Christians, we don't see them as our sister in Christ. We see them as, that's my girl, I'm dating her. But no, bro, that before any of that, before y'all even knew each other, when she accepted Christ and you accepted Christ, she became your sister. Man. And the transition from sister in Christ to wife, that doesn't happen through dating, bro. That happens through friendship. Gotcha. That happens through emotional and friendship connection. And then you guys will both know that you're ready to go to the next level, right? But you can't start at level 10 and 2 dates into it, which is what a lot, even people who love God, even people who call themselves Christians, two dates in, we having sex because that's just what society has made normal. So being a follower of Jesus, man, we need to learn how to go against the grain in every area of life. The grind culture, the dating culture, the everything culture. We have to learn how to go against the grain, and it's not going to be popular, and people are going to think you weird, but the Bible says we're supposed to be peculiar. We're supposed to be different, right? And if the world looks to us when they're looking for Christ, but they see a reflection of themselves and not a reflection of Christ, why would they look at us? If somebody wants something different in the dating scene and then they go to church and people in the church having sex just as much as people out in the world,
why would they even bother?
Why would they even
church
bother?
Or following this guy?
Because it's the same thing. So, it's like we have to work on deconstructing all these cultural norms that our current culture has set up for us. And we have to go against the grain. And it's hard.
That's crazy.
It is not easy, bro.
It's funny that you said deconstructing because I feel like we have to, like you said, deconstruct because culture and the devil had already built, like in our minds and stuff, the way we were raised, the society we were raised in, they have already built a really functioning, solid, like company in ourselves, like an organization on how we think, the stuff that we do. So sometimes we even pray, but we don't get to hear what the Lord is saying because like the way we function, like, is not letting the light in. We only let just a little bit of light, of the only light we want to let in.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
like we see a girl, check, or let me pray for her. God, make her the right one. Because some people pray. I prayed about that, but I'm glad I didn't crash out. They pray like, God make. I hope she's the one. Make her the one. Man, if you ask God to make her the one, that's step one on crashing out. Because, like, what do you think you're gonna hear? Like, what do you think your brain is gonna tell you?
You're gonna hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this then. So, okay, in that friendship stage, like, what top 3 questions should people ask among all the, everything they're gonna do, the activities, the getting coffee, meeting at church? Like, what are the top 3 things we should look for? And just to make this interacting with the people who's gonna watch it, make sure you try to answer those questions yourself. I'm gonna try to answer it. Ask me those questions. I hope I got the answer. We didn't plan this. I don't know the questions. I didn't send him the questions, so he's gonna make this up right here, like, depending on what the Lord is telling him and his his experience and stuff. And just make sure you answer them. You answer those questions, in your heart. If you're bold enough, answer them in the comments, but you don't have to. But most importantly, answer those questions in your heart.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll give you 3, but I really only think there's 1. And
that's one is going to be hard. I can tell.
And that one question needs to revolve, like, in that friendship stage. Your goal is obviously to become her friend, to get to know her better, to understand what are her goals, her dreams. You guys are going to talk about all that.
Yeah.
But I think the most important question that you want to know before your friendship goes into a relationship, like a romantic relationship, is, where is she at in her spiritual walk? And that's going to come out in the friendship.
Okay. Like, you asking me though. Yeah. Like I'm going to answer like she will be asking me.
Yeah. So, exactly. So she's going to say, where are you at in your spiritual walk with Christ? Like, how surrendered are you living?
Dang.
To Christ?
You don't got to go that deep.
Yeah. You should go that deep.
Just kidding.
And here's the thing. That question, you may not be able to answer that question with words.
Yeah.
But during the friendship, that question will be answered through actions. Because I could tell you anything about my relationship with Christ. I could tell you anything you want to hear. If a girl was to ask you, a girl that you're really interested in, and she was like, "Hey, Caleb, how's your relationship with Christ?" Man, if you're really interested in that girl and you want to go to the next level, you're going to tell her, "Man, I'm like Paul, girl." You know what I'm saying? Like,
I used to be like that.
I done been shipwrecked. I'm like Paul, right? Like, you could tell her anything, but the proof, right, will be like we just did the series at church, right? The receipts.
Yeah.
She's going to see the receipts if what you're saying with your mouth actually adds up with your actions. So that's why the friendship part of meeting the one is so important, because in that friendship part, that's the season where you're going to find out how close, what are their fruits. You during that season, your main job should be you a fruit inspector. You want to see if she's walking in the fruits of the Spirit. You want to see if her words and her actions are matching up, and she should want to be seeing the same thing about you.
Yeah.
And before you go to that next level of, okay, we're not just friends now. Now we're also in a romantic relationship, or we're going to be engaged. By that time, there should be no question for you of where she's at with Christ.
Yeah.
There should be no question. Enough. You should know enough by that point. But the problem is, a lot of times we meet someone, we just start dating right away. It's romantic, and we haven't even asked the deep questions. And then we're trying to figure out it in marriage. And by that time, I'm not going to say it's too late, but we're trying to figure it out in marriage, and that's why so many marriages are broken right now, because we didn't take the time to actually have a season of friendship and discovery before we went to the next level.
Yeah. Now, I told them to answer the question, so I got to make sure I answer it, because I got to motto what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So the question is, how's a relationship we got?
How would you describe your relationship with God?
I'm going to be honest. So my relationship with God really is becoming more and more of a relationship. Before it used to be like a, okay, let me explain it in a very like understandable way. At first it used to be like an email relationship, but now it's becoming like a iMessage relationship, and it's growing towards like a phone call relationship.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'll say that's where I'm winning. Where I think I still need to, I wouldn't say I'm losing, but where I think I still need to work on, or we still, both of us, me and him, or where I need to improve is in the, you know, I'm gonna dare say the religion part of it, cause relationship is good, but if the religion part is not there, like making sure you keep your disciplines, make sure
Absolutely.
you make time for him, So I'll say the relationship is thriving, but I still need some work on the religion part of it, like making sure that the time that I said that I'm gonna be there, like the appointment I set up with him, that I'm gonna show up, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's a good one. So I have the 3 questions. So the 3 questions are: number 1, your relationship with Christ.
Okay.
Number 2, your relationship with your parents or the people who raised you, right? Because not everybody was raised by their parents.
Yeah.
And then the third one is your relationship with yourself. And here's what I mean by that. How committed are you to the commitments that you make to yourself?
All right, parents. I have a very good relationship with my parents. Like,
okay.
Yeah, like I think we are now friends. Like, we're really friends. Like, my parents really can't get enough of me. Like, they say I joke a lot. I make a lot of jokes. Like, every time we make calls, they're laughing. Like, they're, so we really have a good relationship with him. And what I'm thankful for most is their trust in me. Because I've never have to feel like I'm looking for, like, I'm not trying to make them believe in me. I feel like they really believe in me. They really, I think they believe more in the God that they pray, that he's going to work out everything for their good and for my good. Right. But I think I've seen that trust grow from not just believing in God, but also believing me, like trusting me. They're like, okay, you made a decision to move to another state. Okay, if that's really what you feel like God is telling you, I can't hold you back. Yeah. Like, go for it.
And here's why that question's important.
Yeah.
Right. The first one, obviously, I want to know how surrendered you are to Christ.
Yeah.
Because your relationship with Christ is gonna be a reflection, or I'm sorry, the relationship with your wife is gonna be a reflection of your relationship with Christ, and vice versa.
Bars.
Right. And then the relationship with your parents, whether good or bad, is gonna impact how you are as a parent. And I want to know that. Right. I want to know that. And I'm not saying that's 100% of the time. But again, I'm going back on what I've seen through counseling and therapy. Yeah. A lot of times people who have had very, very traumatic or broken relationships with their parents that have not healed, a lot of times that transfers into how they parent. And I've been a victim of that myself, right? So the relationship with your parents is so important. So when you're getting to know someone that you want to be a wife, right? You want them to be your wife. I think that's a very good question. Like, understand what is the relationship with your parents. And then the last one is, what is the relationship with yourself, right? Are you committed to your commitments to yourself?
So, man, I think the commitment part, I still need really deep work. Because commitment, what it sounds to me is, it might be not great things. It might not be up here, whatever I'm trying to do, whatever commitment, if it's gym, reading the word, like going to work, being on time, it might not be like crazy things. It might be up here, right?
Yeah, it's
but
all
making sure it stays out here, like it's a line that really goes, like that stays out here. Like you don't, like, cause sometimes people we want to go here and we can stay here for a little bit, and then when we fall flat to the ground. So I really need deep work on that, because sometimes I feel like my commitment is like this. Sometimes I'm up here and sometimes I'm up here, and I'm down, like really down. Other times I'm really down. So
and when we're talking about like even the little commitments, right? Like, so when you're thinking about how committed are you to your commitments to yourself, why do you think that's important if this person is going to be your wife?
Because I think.
What if the person is like, they can't commit to nothing?
Oh yeah, that's a deal
How do you
breaker.
think that's going to?
That's a red flag. We're not going nowhere.
Right?
I'm not gonna find out how that's gonna work out because we're not going nowhere.
Exactly. So like that's why I think those 3 questions are
Yeah.
super important. And I'm just generalizing, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying that every, like, for example, my wife, she didn't have her father in her life, right? She didn't grow up, you know, with her dad. Like he was in and out of the picture.
Yeah.
So it was mostly raised by her mom. And, you know, the relationship, even to this day, is not healed, like with her dad. However, she's a great mom.
Yeah.
So I don't want to generalize and say every single person that's you know, that's had a traumatic and broken relationship with their parents is going to not be a good parent, right? But I do feel like there will be issues.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why those questions are important, because everything from our past plays a role in our present if it's not healed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why it's important to do the work, because you might not have this parent in your life, but, you know, doing the work will at least expose those dark spots in your life that you need to shed some light on, or that you need to surrender to God, that you need counseling, that you need therapy and all those.
And that's why it's important to be friends first.
Yeah, to find out about those before
you don't want to find out all that stuff after you're married.
Whew. Yeah.
Right? But that's typically what happens.
Yeah.
Because we don't slow down enough.
Yeah.
And we don't learn about each other. Yeah. We just go straight to the, man, you look good. Let's have sex. Yeah. Let's get married. Yeah. Some of us, we don't even get married. We just move in.
Yeah.
And then we didn't take the time to actually get to know this person.
Yeah.
We didn't take the time to actually understand their relationship with God, their relationship with their family, their relationship to themselves. Mm-hmm. And then you find out later, after you're married, that this isn't actually the person that I wanted to begin with. Yeah. And it was all emotional, and God was never involved. Yeah. And then you have people that are like, you know, I want the Lord to save this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, now we want God to bless our mess. Ooh. I'm not saying that he won't do that. Yeah. But I think that if we continue that pattern of moving ahead of God when it comes to relationships, there's going to be a time where you're just going to end up crashing out and being in the wrong relationship and not being able to get out.
Man. So how do you feel about dating apps? How do you feel about dating shows? How do you feel about speed datings?
It's all a distraction. Really, it's a distraction. Just like a lot of things in this world, it's a distraction. I think that, first of all, I believe that if you work on yourself, again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about if you work on yourself and you're able to put that energy back out into the world, you're going to attract the very thing that you are becoming. Yeah. If you're a man of faith, you're going to attract a woman of faith. And when you meet a woman who's not of faith, you're going to recognize that right away.
So does that mean that we choose a wife for ourselves? Because this is a...
Indirectly, yes.
This is a question that's been going on forever. Like, does God choose our wives or spouses? Do we choose them for ourselves? Like, how does this work?
I think that we choose our wives.
Okay.
But I believe that before you choose your wife, God gives you the option of using all the tools that he gave you so you can make the right choice. And too many times, the only tool we use to make the choice is our penis.
And that's the wrong one, boy.
But your greatest sex organ is not between your legs, it's between your ears. It's your mind, it's your brain, it's your how you think, how you perceive, what is your perspective?
Nah, you gotta say that again.
Right? The greatest sex organ is not between our legs, it's between our ears.
Because before you even have the actual sex, you've already thought about it.
Because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of what?
A sound mind.
Power, love, and of a sound mind. Yeah. And God invites us. So God is like, I've given you these tools: power, love, sound mind. Yeah. Now you can use those to pick a wife, or you can use your penis. Yeah. Which one you want to use?
Oh no, I don't. I want to use God, man. I want to use.
But too often we get caught up in the looks and the physical part, and then we find ourselves slipping and having sex, and then as soon as we slip into that, like we've already excluded ourselves from using power, love, and a sound mind, because now we're just in a whole nother. We've put ourselves in a whole nother category now.
Okay, I have questions for two people, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say one just found out that maybe they got into this relationship, not through the right like lane or the right door. They they use the wrong tool to get into this relationship.
Okay.
And maybe fortunately or luckily, there's relationship is not that far. They don't have kids with them. They're not haven't moved in with them, and so there is an option for them to end this, right? What would you say to them? And what would you say to somebody who's already all in, bro? They got kids. They don't have kids. They have a house. They share credits. How?
Yeah. I mean, I would give the same advice to both. And the advice that I would give is the biblical advice, which is to seek wise counsel. Right? Seek wise counsel. Like whether you're engaged or whether you're dating and you're thinking about spending the rest of your life with this person, or whether you're already in a marriage and now you have questions because maybe you didn't use the right tools to make this thing, happen. I think that you have to seek wise counsel. Be vulnerable enough to invite other people that you trust into the situation so that they can give you wise counsel. I think that God speaks to us through his word, and he also speaks to us through his people. So if you surround yourself with the right people that are faithful and hearing from God, and you surround yourself and you dive into the word, and God, I hate saying dive into the word because that sounds so Christian. It sounds so Christian.
Just read it.
It just ask God to show you in the Bible, how you need to proceed, right? Pray, invite God into your situation and ask him to bring the right people to help you come to your senses. And I think whether you're the first couple or the second couple, I think that a lot of couples don't invite people in because they're ashamed. And so you got to break that shame and you got to become vulnerable and let somebody into your relationship to speak truth. Vulnerable. Like a pastor, like a trusted person that a mentor, to speak truth into your situation and to help you, give you the tools to reset your toolbox. Okay, you went in with this toolbox. We need to close that one.
It's not working.
And we need to open the other toolbox, which is power, love, and a sound mind.
Man, so I think that's the word, man. Vulnerable. We don't like this word. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to leave. I don't want my credit to be vulnerable. I don't want my finances to be vulnerable. So maybe some people just don't like it because of the meaning, or it's just being accountable to somebody. Because look at it this way: when you go to the doctor, you don't. If you go to the doctor wearing a suit and they need to check something you're not gonna keep that tie on. You gotta like take everything off and like lay down and let them do what they gotta do. So depending on how you want to save this thing, or how if you really want to save it, or if you really want to do it God's way, you're gonna have to let somebody in some ways in. You don't have to do it at once at the same time, but at least you gotta make an effort of letting somebody, letting the Holy Spirit, letting God in, letting the light in, whatever light, if it's the Bible, if it's going to church and asking for prayer, something. You got at some point you got to open yourself up and let yourself be healed. I mean, not even the doctor situation, bro. I know people that will not go to the doctor, will not go to the dentist because they don't want to be in those positions where they're going to know it's going to be painful, and they don't do it. There's certain exams that are painful. There's certain exams that aren't fun. Right? And I know people that won't go do those exams because they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to be in those positions. They don't want to be in pain. The problem is that in every great process, there is some level of vulnerability and maybe some pain and maybe some suffering, right? In every process. And I think sometimes we think we can avoid those things and get the end result. And that's just not real life. Man, so as a dad, right? As a man, a man of God, as a we even take it a notch higher, as a psychologist, as a counselor, as a mentor. And what are the qualities you be looking in a man who's gonna like ask a hand in marriage for your daughter? Like, what would you be looking for? Fellas, he's not even me, he's about to give you some real games. So if you're planning on asking somebody's daughter their hand in marriage, or if you trying to ask his daughter. So he's about to say,
Yeah.
pay attention.
I mean, I have one prayer and one desire for all my daughters, that they would marry a man who loves God more than he loves them.
Wow.
That's it. There's no height requirement. There's no strength requirement. There's no, you got to have degrees and you got to have the best job in the world. And it's none of that.
Yeah.
My desire is that my daughters would marry God-fearing men who love God more than anything, even more than them. And if that happens, then my prayers are answered. And I think that when you ask for a young lady's hand in marriage, number one, when you talk to her family and then when you talk to her, if you truly do love God, they're going to sense that from you. They're going to know if you're the real deal or if you're fake.
Okay, while we're still there, this is a good question right here. So let's say the parent, your wife's parent is not, their parents are not saved, right? Let's say they're not saved, and maybe not even, maybe they're not saved. What would you tell somebody, a man who's in love with a let's say they're engaged, right? Mm-hmm. And he's trying to ask their hand. Oh, actually, they ask the hand before they engage, or how does it work?
No, they ask the hand and then they get engaged.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah, you ask the hand.
Nah,
I want to marry your daughter, and then the dad says, "Yeah, marry my daughter," and then you go ask her.
But then some people get engaged and then 3 years and then they get married after. Or I'm tripping.
Sometimes there's long engagements.
So you ask the dad, bro. I feel like going to the parents. Me in my Burundian mind, I feel like going to the parent is the last step of a relationship.
Okay, so in your country, if you want to marry someone, do you ask the parents before you ask her to marry you, or do you ask her first and then you go ask the parents?
That's actually a good question. I don't know how they do it because I've never been married before.
Okay, but if you were a parent, how would you like it?
No, the way I thought I was gonna do it, I thought I was gonna propose to her. But that don't make sense. I thought I was gonna propose to her and then ask his parent. Cause how do I know she wanna marry? But I guess you will know. You will know.
Why? Okay, yeah. If you're proposing to someone and you don't know if they're gonna say yes, that's a red flag.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Ask.
Yeah, don't do it. But my question was, what would you tell a man who the wife's maybe his girl's parents don't want him, but those two want to be together? Yeah. What would you say to them?
I think that if you're 100% like in love with God and in alignment with God, and so is she, but and you guys know that you're supposed to be together, and the family doesn't want you together, then 100% get married. I mean, in a perfect world, we would love for the family to support it and all that. Man. But again, if you're in perfect alignment with God, and so is she, the chance, and I'm not saying it's every time, but the chances of the family rejecting you is very low.
Man, I gotta ask this question because somebody's asking themselves right now, I'm sure, why is marriage this precious that we're gonna risk everything, put everything on the line, put our families, our reputation on the line? Like, why do we even get married in the first place? Like, why should, cause I'm like, damn, man, that's too much. Like, hey, bro.
Deal.
Yeah, what do we even get married in the first place?
It's because that's God's order of things, right? That's God's order.
So everybody's supposed to be married?
No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's God's order of things. So some people, like Paul, right? And that's why Catholic priests don't get married. Because there's some people that aren't supposed to be married. Okay. Right? And there's some people that are. But that
it's not a one size fit all.
It's not a one size fit all, but that doesn't mean God didn't create it.
Right.
God created marriage. That doesn't mean everybody's supposed to be married.
Man.
Right? So, God created Hawaii, but that doesn't mean everybody's supposed to live there. Right?
Yeah.
That's true. God created marriage, but not everyone's supposed to be married. But I think that if you're called to be married, and you know that you're going to be married, then you need to be fully in alignment with the Father.
Yeah.
Before, and so does she, before you guys do it. Mm-hmm. And what I was saying earlier was, if both of you have done that, if both of you are in alignment with the Father, and you have your relation, and you got the checklist, right? And you got your relationship with Christ in check, like where you want it to be, and so does she. The chances of you guys getting interference is going to be super low.
Bro, that's
super low.
That's the coldest thing. I just remembered. That's the coldest thing that I've heard today. Like, the list is not for her; it's for you.
The list is for you.
Shoot. All right. As we head towards the end, talk to me about balance as a man, because as a man, bro, we have a lot on our plates, and we have to make sure these things are balanced. Like, one slight mistake, you're gonna put your family over the responsibility God gave you to provide for them. Mm-hmm. One slight mistake, you're gonna put this responsibility to provide for them, you're gonna put it above, like you said, nurturing and being there for them. Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's this balance that I think that is being forgotten. Right? There's this side of Jesus that is so nurturing, that is so compassionate, that is so merciful. But we live in a world that has feminized those traits, right? So there are some traits in Jesus that I would even say are like motherly traits, right? But the world has like feminized that and made that so that men don't want to have those traits. Because if I'm gentle, if I'm nurturing, that makes me weak.
Yeah, right? I understand that, but there are some other men who are on the other end of the spectrum, because we've been told, or we've been aware, we're aware now of this, of this being nurturing and stuff. So we want to be with them that we might forsake the responsibility of going out there. Because TD Jake say the problem, the hardest thing about being a father is everybody wants whatever they want. They want it now. The kid wants you now. The wife wants you now. The job wants you now. The opportunity wants you now. And if I give you the time, for example, the family, if I give you time, we're not gonna have food at the table. And if I go to go for that bread, we're not gonna have the time.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
The alignment comes with your relationship with God. Every other relationship in your life is gonna is going to come off your relationship with God.
He is the balance.
He's the balance. Like, there is no. Jesus said, "I'm the truth." The other day, I heard somebody saying, like, "What is truth?"
Wow, that's good.
Right? And there is no what is truth. It's who is truth. Right? So Jesus, your relationship with Jesus is here's where you find the balance. When you make that relationship the most important thing in your life. Yeah. Because everything else will be balanced after that. Why? Because he'll balance it for you. Yeah. Right? But if your relationship with Christ is out of balance, then every other, you look at all your... Yeah. Think of someone in your mind right now, their relationship with Christ is way out of balance. I can almost guarantee you that their relationship with their people in their life is also out of balance.
That's
but
good.
But think of now a person that you know that their relationship with Christ is so in balance. And I want you to check out that dude's home life. Check out that dude's marriage. Check out that dude's relationship with his kids. Right? Good. It's going to be balanced.
That's good.
Right? So the key to balance is to be balanced with Christ, to be in Christ. That's going to balance everything else. And I don't want, it's crazy because I don't want to oversimplify it. I'm not trying to say that it's that simple. Right. But that's literally the key.
Yeah. Now, there's some people who like found a loophole in this equation. They were like, you know what? The easiest way to go about this balance thing is to give her what she wants. Let her handle the bills. Let her take care of all the money. Like, just show up. Because like they say, happy wife, happy what?
Happy
life. Yep. What do you think about that state? Because to me, it sounds like that's out of balance. Bro, because the Bible says, husband, love your wife, and wife, submit to your husbands. Yeah. So the happy wife, happy life, to me, sounds like husbands are submitting to the wife. They're doing everything they can just to make her happy. Because if they can keep her happy, or if she's good, though they're not good, everything will be good. What do you think about that?
The statement, happy wife, happy life, is probably one of the number one things that's so dangerous, that's messing up relationships, messing up marriages. If you're watching the podcast, I want you to go and find Jason Wilson. Jason Wilson is a guy that I've been following for a long time. He's an author. He's written a few books. I think he just came out with a new book. But there's a video So he wrote a book called Cry Like a Man and another book called Battle Cry. And I think he just wrote a new book. I love his material. He's talking about manhood. He's a man who loves God. So he's helping men find this balance.
Yeah.
And he's got they did a documentary on him on ESPN and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jason Wilson, and I'm not going to try to repeat what he said.
Yeah.
But he gave a beautiful, beautiful quote regarding happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
So if you're watching the podcast right now, I would go on YouTube or just Google Jason Wilson, and he gives a beautiful, beautiful quote about happy wife, happy life, and how that mentality is breaking up so many marriages right now in America. It's crazy. But I don't agree with happy wife, happy life. Baloney. No, there's got to be balance.
Yeah.
Because happy wife, happy life is not balance.
Yeah. Because the man is not happy.
Because the man's not happy.
He's dying out here.
And then when you are silencing yourself to keep her happy,
terrible.
Right? When you're silencing yourself to keep the peace, you're creating a war within yourself.
Man, crazy.
So then you become resentful and you become angry, right? While she's over there. Yeah, that's not the right equation.
Whew, so last question, because, man, you're going to have to come back like 3 times. So last question, man. So I think, I don't know the exact like stats, but they say, I know for sure that, first of all, 50% of the marriage ending in divorce, that's one. And almost like half of those marriages ended in divorce. It's from like finances, problems with the finances and stuff like that. How are we supposed to handle finances as a family? What can we do from the engagement like level towards marriage? Because I want everybody to be included in this. Like, how can we go about it? That's one. 2, so the first one is about finances. The second one is about being faithful. Like, man, I'm not faithful to my disciplines. I fall short. Like, I miss my diets. All this wrong. Like, I'm not faithful to this thing. I'm not faithful to God. Even the Bible says, even though we're not faithful, He is still faithful. So we're definitely not faithful. The best pure man, in the earth, in this world, is not faithful in some ways. So how do we stay faithful, bro?
I mean, like the budget thing. I definitely think if someone's out there listening to this podcast and they're considering getting married, I definitely feel like go to premarital counseling, and as part of your premarital counseling, let your counselor know that you guys want to come up with a budget, financial, how are you guys going to handle financial decisions? How are you guys going to budget, and be in agreement with that? Because you're right. Finances is one of the top 3 reasons why people get divorced. Yeah. The second one is communication. And the third one is sex.
Boom.
Okay. So,
I didn't even know the order, but
yeah, I mean, and they fluctuate, right? Yeah. But those are the top 3 reasons.
Okay.
Finances, sex, and communication.
Talk to me about sex.
And so with the sexual thing, again, it all boils back down to how intimate and aligned are you with the Father? Yeah. Right. Obviously, if you're not aligned with the Father and you're not walking closely with Christ, the chances of you having an affair or stepping out on your wife are going to be much higher. Right. There's got to be a lot of healing that takes place in you before you get married. If not, those things do come back and they manifest. Right. And that's why, and then the whole, going back to where we talked about happy wife, happy life, you have a lot of guys who are just living in resentment towards their wives, living in anger towards their wives, living in unforgiveness. So resentment, anger, unforgiveness, when all that is brewing, you're going to become emotionally detached from your wife. And then naturally, you're going to go seek it somewhere else. Man. Right? And when you're living in resentment and anger and all that stuff, you're not living closely with Christ. So everything that we're talking about when it comes to relationships, it all points back to your relationship with Jesus. Oof. It's really that simple. Man. If you want to find out what's wrong with your marriage, if you want to find out what's wrong with your relationship, if you're dating, check your relationship with Christ. Like, honestly look at your relationship with Christ. And if it's off, that's why your other relationships are off. And if you want to fix those other relationships, fix your relationship with Christ first.
Yeah. Whew, I think I can't say nothing else after that, bro. That's a altar call right there.
That's
man,
it, man.
That's so good, bro.
That's it.
I think we're gonna end this part right here. You're gonna have to come back like 5 more times. It was at 3. I think we're gonna go to 5.
Yeah,
You
man.
know.
And let me just say too,
Yeah.
real quick, like if someone's watching this podcast,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, I need to do some counseling. I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways that you can find us. The first one is theforge.org.
Yeah.
If you go to theforge.org, you'll go to the website. There'll be a yellow button that says meet with a biblical counselor.
Yeah.
You can go on there. You can fill out an intake form, and if you're here, whether you're here in Oklahoma or whether you're in another state, if you say, I'd like to meet with Clay, our admin will get back to me, because we have guys in Kansas City as well. So the admin will get back to me and say, hey, there's this person that requested to meet with you. So, and there's other great counselors at the Forge as well. So theforge.org is one great one. If guys want to get counseling, unfortunately, we only counsel with men. So if you're a woman trying to get counseling, maybe after this podcast, we can look for some resources and you can put it in the description if there's women out there who are trying to get counseling for themselves. But theforge.org is a great one to try to find me and to try to find help in your marriage, relationship, addictions, all the stuff that men go through. And then finally, if you are here in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area and you want to get with a men's support group that is free of charge, we have the Shop Talk, which happens at the Heights Barbershop in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 8323 South Memorial, every Monday night at 7 p.m. And if you want to know more information on that, you can always just drop into the Heights Barbershop anytime, and you can say, hey, when is the Shop Talk? Or we can leave my information at the end of this.
Yeah, I will.
And somebody can reach out.
Yeah.
So you can come to the support group that's 100% free, or you can come through theforge.org to get one-on-one counseling. So I want to make sure we put that out there before we end.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that before we end, but yeah, thanks for. I'm gonna drop the links in the description. The Forge. If you're an athlete, he does athlete works too. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
real quick?
And if you're a high school student or a college student that's in athletics, we also have a program for athletes. We'll drop the links to the website in there, and we have very specific help that we offer to student athletes who are struggling with the specific student athlete challenges, especially athletes that are injured and trying to stay on top of their mental health. So.
All right, let's do it, man. So we're about to play a game. It's a would you rather game, and you only have like 1/2 of a second to answer. So you're not gonna think about it, all right? And then that's how we're gonna end it. Would you rather date someone who talks too much or someone who never talks at all?
Talks too much.
Too much?
Yep.
All right. Would you rather have a partner who is too clingy or too distant?
Too clingy.
Dang, bro. Would you rather go on a blind date set up by your ex or the strictest family member?
Strictest family member.
Yeah. Strictest family member. Yep. Would you rather have unlimited money but not love, or have true love but always broke? I know what you're gonna say.
Come on, man. Love.
Love? I thought you was gonna say broke. Oh yeah. That's love.
And be broke.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Would you rather get ghosted or left on red for a week?
Or get ghosted?
Get ghosted or left on red for a week?
Left on red.
Really? Sure. You want that answer? Would you rather find love in your DMs or in person randomly? You already found love, so
in person. I recommend in person for anybody that's watching this.
Okay. Would you rather date someone who's always late or someone who's overly punctual?
Punctual.
Really? Would you rather accidentally send a risky text to your crush or your pastor?
Ooh, pastor. Pastor for sure.
Oh, marry someone with no sense of humor or someone who laughs at everything. Laughs at everything.
Laughs at everything.
You
gotta have laughter.
Yeah. Have a partner who is amazing at cooking but terrible with communicating, or a great communicator who can't cook.
Great communicator, because I could always DoorDash.
All right. Would you rather go skydiving or camping in a random forest?
Skydiving all day.
Really? Have you ever skydived before? You have? All right,
Yep.
so that's easy. I've never, so I'm like, dang, but I don't want to go in the forest. But skydiving is crazy. But all right, MJ or LeBron?
MJ. Come on, man.
All right, Mariah Carey or Whitney Houston?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm going to have to go with Whitney.
All right. This is a crazy one right here. You might get some backlash. Drake or Kendrick Lamar?
Kendrick all day. All day.
What's wrong? When you say all day, what's wrong with Drake?
Nothing's wrong with Drake, but I'm from California, man.
Oh, I forgot about that. All right, Beyonce or Rihanna?
In terms of what, like their music?
I
mean, okay, as a music artist, I would say Beyonce for all day over Rihanna.
Okay. Pastor Mike or Pastor Charles? No, I'm just kidding. You're not gonna answer.
I love both of them. I love both of them.
Yeah, I know. I love both of them too. I love all of y'all. Apple or Android? You're Apple, I know.
Oh, Apple.
All right. Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac, man, come on.
Jazz or
Stop
Nas?
asking me these crazy questions.
I mean, Jay-Z or Nas?
Nas all day.
Eminem or 50 Cent?
50.
Lauryn Hill or
Lauryn Hill. You ain't even got to tell me who's the other person. Who's the
Alicia
other person?
Keys.
Alicia
Keys.
Why you got to do that?
I got to go with Alicia Keys, bro.
Lauryn Hill, bro. Lauryn Hill.
All right, Bob Marley or Stevie Wonder?
Bob.
All right, favorite movie all time?
Favorite movie of all time? I would have to say The Sandlot.
I haven't watched it.
You haven't? Mm-mm. It's an old movie, but it's about these kids growing up playing baseball.
Wow. And you play baseball too, right?
Love baseball, man. I grew up playing baseball.
That's why you're going to come back, bro. And favorite comedian?
Eddie Murphy.
Really?
Well, it's a tie between
who?
Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence.
Wow. See, I didn't get to hear Eddie Murphy as a stand-up comedian. I know him as an actor.
Yeah.
Same with
Martin.
With Martin. So for me, it will be either Kevin Hart or Steve Harvey or Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
Bro, all of them are good though.
Yeah.
Do you know these new guys?
I don't know a lot of the new guys, but I grew up watching Eddie Murphy stand up, Martin Lawrence, so that's kind of the generation that I'm from before they became actors. All but right. Yeah, those guys are definitely my favorite.
All right, last question. Favorite thing to do on a weekend?
As you get older, that changes. So nowadays, my favorite thing to do is to go on a long walk with my wife and my dog.
Wow,
that's
bro.
it.
I have so many questions, bro, but you definitely gonna come back, bro. I appreciate you so much for coming,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Appreciate you for coming through. I appreciate you for what you're doing with every man around here, with what you're doing with your family, bro. We all look up to you. Appreciate you for what you're doing for me, for church. Literally, bro, I'm gonna tell you about it, but yeah, man, it's about happening, bro. So
it's a pleasure, bro. Yeah. It's all for God. So
man, let's
all
do
for His
it.
Glory.
Let's do it again, bro.
Yes, sir.
And again, this was the I Don't Know podcast. Appreciate you for tuning in. I'm gonna drop his information in the description. My information will definitely be there. And if you wanna support, I'm gonna put my cash out for the first time in there if you feel like, and I'm gonna put his too.
No, you know what I need? I need Instagram followers because I have 6 right now.
Gotcha.
So we need to bump that up.
All right, so we're gonna give him 200 followers. So make sure if you watch this thing, so usually my episodes get 300 followers.
Oh, nice.
So every person who watches this, go to Total Athlete Mental Health. I'm gonna put the link in the description. Go drop him a follow. I want to see 200 followers.
Appreciate that.
More on his account. And man, I appreciate you so much. Let's do this thing, man. We are building ourselves. We are letting God build ourselves. We are growing, man, and the growing process will never end until the day we're gonna see His glory. So let's do this, man. Let's keep going. Keep it up. And I'll see you next time. Let's do it.
Peace.